is Sean. I'm back again with All Things Black. I have a new friend here today.
Hello, my name is Melissa Antoine, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us, Melissa. Is there anything that you would like to tell them about yourself before we go ahead and start?
I am just a creative spiritual being on this journey of life.
Okay, okay. Can we follow your Instagram? What's your Instagram?
Yes, it's TheOddBeauty, Odd Beauty, Beauty.
Okay, and we'll put it under there too, so they'll know.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So our first question is, what does the word colorism mean to you?
That's a very interesting question because honestly speaking, I was always aware of colorism before I even knew that there was a term for colorism. And colorism, I don't really think much of the term, versus the actions and the
Mhm.
behaviors that, it does. So I guess when I think of colorism, I think more of like, behaviors induced because of one's skin tone
Mhm.
and from whatever cultural upbringings that person who is the culprit of colorism causes.
Okay. All right. So, what do you think are, you just talked about, it's more of the actions. So, what do you think are some examples of colorism?
Colorism, like some certain examples would be like, okay, I'll use my personal example. I have a friend. She's like probably I would say she's probably like 3 or 4 shades darker than me. I have another friend that we're in the same friend circle. She's like probably 3 shades darker. 3 shades lighter than me. What I've noticed was whenever I would be with my other friend who was darker than me, it would be apparent because people, especially guys, within our age range, would it's not like I would put it like this. It's not like they would say it like, you're dark and you're lighter and all that, but you can tell by their choice of wording and the energy they come with, like coming up to me and then coming up to my friend. And one of the guys literally would say like, oh, they were trying to talk to me. And then, even though they didn't like, disrespect my friend towards her tone, but, her appearance, and I knew that's what it was. Um, and then with my experience with my other friend that was lighter than me, it was the same dynamic. I was basically treated like how they treated my darker friend.
Hmm.
So I guess I don't know if I fully
No,
answered the
that's a good
question.
example. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Why do you believe people have negative attitudes about dark skin?
I think people overall have negative attitudes about dark skin because it's conditioning and it's a lot of it have to do with insecurities. I feel like a part of it is because of history and because in history we had this thing called My Fair Lady and Mr. Tall, Dark and Handsome.
Yeah.
Um, being lighter in complexion was always attributed towards femininity, while
Right.
being darker skin was attributed towards masculine. So
Right.
a lot of people, as years and centuries went by, a lot of cultures didn't necessarily like dropped it. I mean, it wasn't like, all full blown and apparent in like most like westernized nations, but
Right.
it's like, it's more subtle now, where it's not like it's like, all in your face, but it's
Right.
still there.
Okay. Okay. All right. What role do you believe traditional media has in promoting colorist stereotypes?
I think the role they play, to be completely honest, is that um it's more of trying to condition people to kind of like uphold a certain standard because we all know what the world's beauty standard is, and they, kind of do their part to uphold it. But at the same time, I feel like they intentionally create problems because it's like whenever you can put a certain group of people in a mindset of fear, in a mindset of being insecure, you can kind of cash in on that because now it's like you come in and be like, okay, here's the solution. Maybe change your hair, like, perm it, straighten it, whatever, like maybe you need to lighten up your skin or like, they come up with these like
Right.
superficial suggestions that doesn't really help. It makes the problem much more worse.
Right. Okay. All right. What role, if any, do you believe that colorism plays in dating and marriage?
This goes back to what I said about the history with the whole feminine and light skin
Yeah.
and with dark skin. Unfortunately, in a lot of cultures, and I come from a Caribbean background. I'm Haitian American.
Okay.
Like I said, a lot of cultures still hold on to that whole light skin,
Yeah.
dark skin dynamic. And unfortunately, people subconsciously, whenever, like a man, whenever he is going out there, well, most guys, whenever they go out there to, like, look for a suitable female partner, they first might, look for the qualities, like feminine qualities, like, is she's a nurturer, is she's a carer, and all these things. But, when it comes to physical appearance, um, the beauty standards, the world beauty
Yeah.
standard is now reinforced because of it's that individual's, mentality on those
Right.
things.
From what I read, the Haitian culture does struggle with um, colorism a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's the black community, so what? I guess what would you really be able to expect? But I have read that, and also from other women I've talked to, they've mentioned issues with like the Haitian community and colorism as well. So I do know that that's like a pretty big issue.
Yeah.
And with Caribbean culture is period, I think that's probably a pretty big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What do you believe is the difference between colorism and preference? Is there a difference?
I would say that, okay, first I would say that, preference, a lot of people like to use, that word and stuff.
Hmm.
There's a difference between being exclusive and being, preferring something. And sometimes what people would do is that, they, in their mind, they know that they're cut exclusively, like cutting out a certain group and only paying their attention to a certain group and then calling it a preference.
Preference. Hmm.
And a preference actually is, you favor this one group, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you cutting out all the others. You
Right.
still
Right.
prefer, I'm not prefer, but you still like everyone, but you just kind of prefer this group a little bit more, you know. But a lot of people, um, they make it seem like that's what it is, but that's not what it really is, because there's a certain group of people that they're cutting out because of, biases and conditioning, like I said.
Okay. How do you believe gender intersects with colorism? Do you think it's different from men and women? Yeah.
Yeah, I really think, yeah, it is a difference because, like, from my personal observation, and from just talking with people online and, some of my friends' experiences that they've told me, it seems like, when it comes to, like, light skin people, like, let's say, like, light skin females and light skin males, it seems like with light skin females, they have a far more better, um, they have a far more better feedback and, reception when it comes to them being light skin and female, versus with the males, they are
Yeah.
always, their masculinity is always challenged because,
Question.
like
Yeah.
I said, light skin being associated with femininity
Femininity. Yeah.
and such. And then the
Yeah.
same thing is with the dark skin dynamic. Dark skin females are treated, more aggressively because of the dark skin being associated with masculinity,
Yep.
and dark skin guys being put on the pedestal because it's like, you're like the whole epitome of, manliness or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way you explain that. Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah. All right. So what? Okay. So do you believe colorism is institutionalized? Do you think it affects like jobs? I guess you could say promotions. The prison system. Um, yeah. Do you think it's institutionalized?
Yes, I do believe to some extent that it is institutionalized because, like I said, like with the media, they it's like a part of it is conditioning, and then another part of it is like intentions, because, like, let's say, your boss is somebody that grew up in a household where they kind of push colorism.
Right.
And, like let's say that this same boss is grew up in a foreign country, where they're not really educated about a certain group of people other than their own. Now
Right.
they may see you, and based on their limited knowledge of what these group of people are actually are in everyday life, um, they may automatically, like, with pre-bias, like
Yeah.
they may automatically start, saying to themselves, this person seems like they're going to be problematic, and it's probably based on just the fact that they're dark skinned and look a certain way, they have a certain
Right.
phenotype, you know. And then in other cases, sadly, like it's more of a exploitation type of thing. They
Mhm.
try to, you know, and then I don't know how to explain this in a way that it will make sense. But they know that they use certain vices, against the person. Um, like, let's say, for example, a situation happens at the job, and you, as a dark-skinned Black person, you may feel like that you may try to, assess the situation by saying that, okay, is it because, I'm doing something wrong? Is it because of this, or is it because that I'm being treated this way because they feel some type of way about me because of my, my physical, look or
Yeah.
whatever?
Yeah.
And sometimes, certain people gaslight and try to make it seem like, oh, it's not that.
Yeah. That's true.
They know it is, but they try to make it seem like it's not that, it's you
Right.
or it's something, or whatever. Then that's another way that they try to make it seem like, they're on your side. They're not a racist, but they, subtly, use certain tactics to try to, like,
Right.
cause issues or cause confusion or whatever.
Right. I definitely agree about the gaslighting.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I also failed to mention that, and that's another way that they try to reinforce the idea that maybe it's because you're victimizing yourself and all this
mm,
stuff.
mm,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So do you have any, we kind of already talked about this a little bit, but do you have any personal experiences of dealing with colorism?
Yeah, I do. Like with my friend, and then in my family, like my mom, she used to always stress, like, of course, taking care of yourself as a female and all that stuff, but I guess it was because, like, in high school I was in the band and I wasn't allowed to.
Don't play in the sun.
Hmm?
I said, don't play in the sun.
Yeah. Yeah, because I used to participate in a lot of activities where I would be outside a lot, so I did eventually got darker. And my mom didn't like that, and she would, like, there was this product that she always used. I think it was called Carol-Tease or something like that. And she would buy me the soap, the cream, and the other thing, I don't remember what it was. And then she used to, every single day, like literally, she would remind me to, like, use it. And she would, and I know that she never really said it out her mouth with words, but she kind of like alluded to, like, you have to take care of yourself, but she kind of make it seem like, reinforcing that whole idea that lighter is more feminine and you're a girl, so, and you're out here in the sun and it's making you darker. And she also told me that, you look better when you're lighter and all that stuff. And I've had other people, even classmates, even tell me the same thing. So that's another way. My dad never really um, enforced any colorism on me. It was more on other things. But when it came to, like, relationships, yeah, like, I had this one ex. He was lighter than me, and I remember he said this one weird thing. He was like, if we ever have children, I want them to have my skin tone but your face. And I really thought that was a weird thing for a guy to say, and I kind of questioned it. I'm like, well, why would you, what would make you say something like that? Like, what's wrong with my skin tone? Like, what?
Right.
And then he kind of ignorantly explained that, well, like, if the child is lighter, and especially if it's a girl, it's gonna she's gonna have a better time, she or she is gonna have a better time, navigating the world and all this stuff. So when he told me that, I really had to think about, like, okay, if I really want to still be with this guy, because that was just not some type of stuff that I would want to even teach my children, let alone,
Right.
put into them.
I feel like people who say the whole baby thing, they always like try to decorate it with I just think they'll have an easier time in life. Like,
Yeah,
no, just be colorist with your chest. You said it because you prefer for your baby to be lighter because that's the color you like. It's not because you think they'll have an easier time navigating the world.
right.
Like they always say that. I just think they'll have an easier time. How about you become a stronger person and you be able to um, help them navigate the world as a darker person rather than
Right.
girl. Okay. Have you ever talked to your mother about any of the things that she that?
Oh, plenty of times. And for the most part, I don't really think she understands. And it goes back to what I say, like, it's conditioning, and some people, unfortunately, they're really deep rooted in that, to the point that they justify it, and they don't see anything wrong with it. So with my mom, like, her living in Haiti, like, I've never really been to Haiti or lived in Haiti, but I can imagine that, with the whole colorism thing, and then with the history of Haiti,
Yeah.
and with the class of mixed people that are
Yes. The
there,
Dominicans.
you know, um, I can only imagine, like, how deep rooted it is and how bad it is, and to the point that people actually don't see it as a bad thing. They see it as a way of, as a way of survival, and that's how it is, and that's how you have to be, or these are the things that you have to do in order to survive.
Did you have siblings?
Yeah, I have siblings. I have two younger sisters.
Okay. Are they of the same hue or are they a little lighter or darker or
Well, I'm the oldest. That's a really good question, because our skin tone have, like, kind of changed throughout the years as we grew.
mm,
Like, my youngest sister, when she was younger, she was lighter than me and my sister, but now she's like around my skin tone, but probably like a shade darker. My other sister, the middle sister, she's like a little bit more lighter than me. She's more like a darker tan type of
mm.
skin tone.
Do you think your mom does that to them?
She does it to all three of us, and I'm happy that she's never shown favoritism, like through skin tone or hair texture or whatever, because um our hair texture is also different too. But no, she never really, no. It was more equal, like, with all three of us, I'll say.
Okay. All right. And so I have two more questions, but they're like one question.
Okay.
They are who is responsible for breaking the cycle of colorism and do you believe that, colorism as an institution, just as just I guess discriminatory comments and just colorism in general, do you think it'll ever end?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I'll answer that second question first. Honestly, I personally believe that it will never end. And I only say that because of the nature of the world that we live in. And it goes back to what I was saying, that how the media and how these leaders and these people that are in authoritative positions, how they kind of reinforce it, because they know that, if we can get these group of people, these people that are, going through these things that they're going through, if we can get them to stay on this level of insecurity and trying to be like the people that are closer to the beauty of standards, then we can control them in this way, and then keep causing all these issues to capitalize on, and stuff. And to answer the first question, I really feel like it's up to um, not only just the Black community, but any community where there are darker persons, are existing. I feel like it's solely upon us because I feel like we're the ones that have most of the power of breaking the cycle. Because with others, like it's like they're the standard, so they're gonna keep enforcing that just to keep us down. And if we can only like understand that what they think doesn't matter, what, like it's our own personal power that we have to tap into to break the cycle or break the curse or whatever people see it or regard it as. And once we get to a point where we realize that our inner power and our confidence is what's really going to help unify us and help propel us into a future where we don't have these kinds of problems. I guess I'll just put it like that.
Okay. All right, Melissa. Well, I really appreciate talking with you today. Um, yeah, I really appreciate talking with you today. Is there anything you would like to add before we go?
um I just want to add that I feel like there's a lot of things that and within the Black community that we do need to like tackle on, but I personally feel like we need to start um like having more discussions just like this, like within the community, and stop trying to really, I'm not stop completely, but kind of like stop putting too much of our energy and efforts in like trying to get the others to understand and trying to get them to like be the catalyst to the change that we're looking for, because they're, I don't think it's going to start with them, because honestly, and personally, I don't think they really care like that, because they got their own things going on. And then on top of that, there is money to be gained on our insecurity and on our issues. So we cannot expect these others to understand and them to like take the lead role into like making the change.
So, do you think we need to be, us as a community, do you think we need to be focusing more on colorism than racism? Because, like, in my opinion, I feel like more like public acts of racism, they aren't as, not that racism is gone, but more public acts of racism are really not that socially acceptable anymore. Like, if you get caught being racist, it like kind of ends your life
Right.
mostly. Now, if you get caught being colorist, because I'm doing a study on YouTube, and people say colorist stuff all the time on the internet. They say it on video, they say it on social media. It's actually, I think it's actually more socially acceptable to be colorist than it is to be racist. So, would you agree that we as a community may need to start focus more on colorism right now than racism?
Yes, I really do believe that, because colorism is a more subtle form of racism. And
Right.
because it's more subtle, it's more acceptable and it's more tolerated. And it's like, I think I would want to say, and it's up for debate. I want to say that colorism is more of a catalyst for racism, because I feel like racism is embedded in colorism than it is the other way around. And that with colorism, with it being more subtle, it's easier to further condition and brainwash people, and even like having them to justify it and why it's not like a big deal, why it's not that bad as people try to make it seem.
I wonder how we, past conversations, how do you start?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Past just talking about it, and like what else can you do? I
um,
mean, like, I've had some ideas of.
to tackle colorism. Oh, I think that we should really start being honest with ourselves and having these discussions within the home, within our friends group, our group of friends, our group of coworkers. Because I'm gonna be honest, I have certain friends, I have certain people that I know that they say colorism things, like colorist things, every now and then. They say it in a joking way, so it's like whenever you try to like confront them about it, it's like chill, like it's not that serious, it's not that deep. stop being like, fall deep. It's not that serious. I'm like,
It
but you do realize that, the more you keep joking about it and keep doing it, it's like, because a lot of people don't understand that a lot of this stuff is energy. There's energy behind it. So it's like when you're like unconscious, like when you're like, a part of you is like, okay, I don't really care because it's not that serious to me, but you're not really thinking about the collective and like others who are, experiencing it in a very intense way, and that to them, it's like, okay, that this is a very serious issues. It's not okay. Like certain people are very aware, like not only self-aware, but they're aware that certain things affect other people, and other individuals, unfortunately, they only see things through the lens of, like what I think, what I feel, and all this stuff. They don't really care too much of trying to think about the collective or other people, that look like them, that's within this group or collective that are affected by these things that they, just don't care about, or just joke about, and just don't really care, have a careless attitude towards it.
Right. It's this lady, her name Dr. Jeffrey and Wilder. She wrote a book about colorism, and she has a term in there, and it's the everyday colorism. So it's just talking about like just how normalized and how it's like something you encounter like it's something you encounter every day. Like a lot of times people will gaslight you if you try to bring it up. I was like at the bar one time. I was talking to these two guys, and a guy walks in, and the guy was like, "That's the blackest man I ever seen it before in my life." And I was like, uh, and I was like, "Well, I have to." So I was like, that's not. Why would you say that? That's not a cool thing to say. And he was like, well, I mean, he is black. Should I call him brown? I was like, no, it's not him being black that's the problem, or you, or him, his color the problem. It's the fact that you, for no reason, like he's just existing, walking in this bar, minding his own business. And I mean, I feel like you wouldn't say those things unless it was a negative connotation behind it. Why would you just for no reason say this is the blackest dude I ever seen in my life? Because to you, obviously, him being black is something that's so, you know problematic to you that you have to bring it up in mixed company among a person you don't even know. Like you don't know how I feel about that. It's not like, oh, should I say he's brown? What's wrong with saying, like, he just tried to go gaslighting again, try to go on and on about why it wasn't wrong that he said that's the blackest boy I ever seen in my life. And it's just, if people continue to dismiss it.
Right. And that's another thing we need to understand as a community. Like if we don't even take you know, um, our own issues seriously, like how can we expect the others to like take it seriously when they see us and we're joking about it, but the moment another person, a non-black person, says the same exact thing or does the same exact thing, oh, now it's a problem. So that really means that we shouldn't even be joking about it or making light of it, you know.
I also think that it's possible that I also think that black, like, from what I've seen, that like from black men and like the video studies that I'm doing, that some of them are even comfortable with white people being colorists, because in so many, and like I'll say at least 3 or 4 of the videos I've seen, in one video in particular, a white boy said, I won't tell you exactly what he said, among black men at that. Um, he said, hmm, can you still see me?
Yeah, I still see you.
Okay. So he said, um, hmm. Okay, so in one particular video, these men mostly ask like white or like racially ambiguous women, about the, do you prefer light skin or dark skin? So a white woman literally said, I prefer light skinned men because I think I'll have a prettier baby. Now, she said this in front of several, black men, and there was no objection to what she said. Even though this is a slight against, you know, darker skinned people, I feel like, because if you feel like you'll have a prettier baby, what does that mean? Is it an uglier baby if you're having it with a dark skinned person? So I was like, no one said anything at that time. All the people were like, oh, hyped up by it and glad that the white girl, said that. In another video, there was a white boy, and he said about dark skinned black women. I want to tell you exactly what he said. I want to quote him correctly, but what he did say was that something along the lines of dark women not being good looking. And I'm pretty sure he said something about dark vagina scaring him. Now, this was in the company of black men. Now, a white boy said this. And they were all like, and I was like, I just don't feel like I don't feel like a group of I don't feel like, say if this was like black women, I just don't feel like a white person would be able to disrespect dark skinned black men among black women, light skin or dark skin, and they would laugh. I just don't think it would happen.
That's true.
So I just feel like there's just a lot of disconnect.
I've seen some of the same things that you're saying, so I don't got nothing to
Yeah,
add to that because I've seen the same thing too.
it's a lot of disconnect. But I mean, we just had to start the conversation. But okay, Melissa. Again, thank you for coming on All Things Black.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You have a nice day.
You too. Have a nice day.
Thank